Bones are amazing things. They hold us up. They support us. They make us strong. But bones have other uses. In the past, bones were thrown by diviners, seeking out the mysteries of the future. Now the bones are cubes, made of plastic or resin, but they still reveal things to us. As they fall from our fingers and rattle across the table, the story becomes clear. Welcome to Bone Throwers Theater, an RPG actual play podcast.
Hello, and welcome back to an exciting commentary episode of Bone Throwers Theater. This is Johnny, normally played Chime North.
This is Jeremy, playing Julian Illix.
This is Aaron. I usually play Sam Feluge.
This is Ellie, usually playing Archie.
This is Jeff. I usually play Jerr Lan.
And I'm Jordan, and I am the Game Master. And this is a more parts moving around episode than a bangy flashy episode, but it got a little...
It's about to
tense.
get bangy.
Yeah.
Tom fired his gun for the second time.
Only the second time?
Only the second time.
And both their family members.
Both have the same family
Very
member.
peaceful.
No?
No, the first one was at my father.
Oh, yeah.
Very peaceful individual until he has to deal with family.
Yeah.
Chime needs to get back to the lieutenant he was speaking to. What was her name? Armstrong?
No, Captain Perry.
Captain Perry.
Yeah, I'm not going back there.
Lieutenant Armstrong from Fullmetal Alchemist.
So this is going to be really interesting, actually, to see a character who is devoted to calming people down, placating people, soothing people.
And very emotionally tense.
Go into, this
Yes.
emotionally tense arena,
Yeah, and
how he's going to affect people around him.
that sort of, I don't know if you could tell, it wasn't just me that was a little bit flustered. Julian, at that last scene, got a little like, what's going on?
What's wrong with Chime?
Yeah, because it was in all the conversations, it's like, I just calm people down. And
Yes.
then all of a sudden, when it shifted to, it seemed like we weren't going to be able to persuade this android. Chime got volatile, like, very quickly.
Yeah.
And I was like, Julian's been pushing for this for Chime, but where's this coming from? This is ridiculous.
Do we actually want this from this?
Yeah, and so, yes, me as a player didn't know what to do at that very instance. The character, Julian, was like, I don't know what to do with this now because this is not the way...
It's not Chime.
This is not what we were trying to do.
Yeah.
Which is why he ended up just saying, all right, power down, shut down.
Yeah.
Enough persuasion, just get out of our way, and we will figure this out.
Yeah.
But you understand why he was not going to get out of your way.
Yes and no.
I mean, because he's...
Trying to protect the elemental because they're an elemental. I get that, but
But at the same time, it's...
He's a doctor.
Yes, he's a doctor.
Do no harm and all that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this is the first android that has that knows about the apparent split between subjugators and coexisters that has shown any kind of concern towards the subjugators.
yeah.
So that's where it came a little out of left field for Julian. Julian wasn't expecting that type of response.
So here's the thing to me, is like, you hear stories about the Civil War, and the
True.
doctors from both sides treated
Both sides.
service
yeah.
members
Yes.
from both sides.
Yeah.
And so that's always kind of been my mentality for how the doctors at the Animal Preserve would respond. Because as far as they know, Archie is an enemy combatant at this point.
And also, look at the two characters that were there, were the two characters that have been transgressed on heavily by that elemental.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, you put Sam and Jerr in that situation, they'd probably be like, oh, fine, okay.
All right, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why as soon as you told me that it was Choler, and they took it away, I'm not letting that thing out of my sight either.
Now you understand why Julian didn't
Yes.
let him out of his sight.
Absolutely.
Oh, you guys.
So, I love the therapy sessions with Archie.
Oh, yes.
So much revelation.
It's very intriguing.
Possible theories that have come out of that.
I've been enjoying them. Not gonna lie.
One,
You're a fun patient.
yes.
Oh, thanks.
There were a couple of points that were said in, I think, one of the first ones, not in the latest round, that I talked about a little bit in between episodes. Number one, it sounded like at first when Archie was saying something about, well, where is he? It sounded like the answer Jordan was giving was referring more to the original water elemental.
Yeah.
And then Archie circled that around and switched, and then all of a sudden was asking about Bear.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think that,
Yeah, two different characters in my book. Remember?
BR.
okay,
BR and
I don't know
Bear.
which one you were
Asking about VR. At that
BR.
point.
VR.
At that point?
I hadn't, as the colors are coming out, more of this memories coming in with these therapy sessions.
Right. So yeah, that's what I said after that when we were commenting in between episodes, that it seems like Archie's memories are still very disjointed at that point. Even though Archie's remembering more, Archie doesn't know where they fit.
They're
And
still disjointed between the two elementals.
between the two elementals and the programming.
Yeah.
So that's why when Archie was asking about one thing that seemed like it was the elemental, the water elemental, could have been, but then without knowing it, Archie also switched to also ask about BR. And one thing that time-wise in the timeline that adds up, and this is the interesting theory, because we all know from the flashback that as soon as Archie got to Consiglio, that's when Archie was captured. Like immediately, like in customs.
Right.
That's when Archie was captured. So pretty much did not get to do anything mission-wise as the water elemental. But then in the therapy sessions, it was said that when Archie was working at the Slippery Weasel, was already a fire elemental, using use of fire. That was pre-explosion.
Yeah.
So the council has had Archie and has maybe been swapping elementals in and out of Archie's chassis all along. And it wasn't just, water elemental in, out, Choler's elemental in. It was water out, fire in. Let's take the fire out and see what this does.
It's almost
Let's take
like
this.
they were trying to make the perfect match,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
the perfect specimen.
So, and it came up later, and something about
Because they've
Archie.
been there 3 years.
Yeah, Archie doesn't realize. Somebody said something about Archie not knowing something about all the pain that has happened. I don't remember the words exactly, but it had something about being the amount of pain or the number of times Archie was pained. Archie doesn't remember that, and that sort of fits the theory that for 3 years the council has been in control of Archie and has been just using Archie to experiment.
So almost like the putting Choler's elemental into Archie actually healed Archie a little bit. Because if Archie hasn't been aware for the past 3 years, and the first elemental that we see Archie aware that something is going on is Choler's elemental.
Well, Choler's
Is it?
elemental is
No, Choler's elemental, there's more.
Well,
disturbed.
It's more of a, every time they put a new elemental, it's like
It
a reboot. He doesn't remember the previous time before that.
Only bits and
okay,
pieces
so you're
of the
just
previous time.
you're
Yeah.
showing that it's just there's been a complete wipe each time rather
Yes.
than
Well, not 100% complete, but
okay.
The base programming hasn't been changed, but the memory core has been wiped.
Yeah, and basically, it's kind of complicated because most of the personality comes from
The elemental.
the elemental. The coding, there's enough coding in there to maintain some continuity, but it's most of the memories are actually handled by the elemental.
Okay. Okay.
So basically what they're doing at this point is each therapy session is trying to recode a little bit of the coding to take what was corrupted and put it together. Essentially, the root virus was created by swapping elementals in and out of Archie's chassis so many times.
Oh.
So Archie is
Really?
Root menu.
Archie is patient 0. Jordan just handed that to us.
Yes, he did.
Wow.
wow.
Then
Didn't see
Wait,
that
repeat?
coming.
no,
What?
did not see that coming at all.
Archie is patient
Archie is
0.
patient 0 of the root virus.
The root virus was accidentally created by all the swapping back and forth
Because
and that
it's
corruption.
it's corruption to both coding and elementals.
Are we going to leave that in the commentary?
It's canon now. So now that completely ruins my theory, because my theory was that it came. So Choler never had the root virus.
Well, Choler was the last host.
Right,
With the
before.
most amount of corruption. But Choler is also fanatically devoted to the council and to Huracan.
Choler could have got, since it is apparently contagious, could have gotten it from
Interaction, because
interaction.
Choler was part of that.
Because Archie was captured by the council. We know that Del Linden got it at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Could be very early on after
Yeah.
interacting with, hey, let's interact with this new android. Let's see what we can do with it. All right, we'll figure out later. Go do your mission in Marneline, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then Sam goes to rescue, and that's when we see Del Linden with the virus.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Choler could have had it before.
Right.
But when Choler actually got it,
And if Choler
don't
has
know.
been reinfected, maybe.
You say reinfected?
I'm sure Choler had experience with Archie when Archie had another.
Right.
well, we don't know for sure if Choler was actually a council member.
Oh no, Choler wasn't.
No,
Yeah,
Choler
Choler
was the
Head of the
de
Fire
facto
Drakes.
of the leader of the Fire Drakes.
Well,
the Fire Drakes were.
He was responsible for the slippery weasel. He could have easily known me.
oh, that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
We actually, in canon, have never said who is responsible for the slippery weasel. We assume that it was the Fire Drakes.
Right.
Could have been
because-
you.
because of the evidence
Oh,
left
no,
of
we
the
had that
explosion.
discussion.
Because the Fire Drakes found out that was a big recruiting center for Healing Hands.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that we never actually have said, oh, this is why the slippery weasel blew up. But we have seen why the dome blew up.
Yes.
So
That one was most definitely Choler.
yes.
Another major reason why we assumed that it was the Fire Drakes that blew up the Slippery Weasel is because if it was the council, they just would have condemned and imploded the building.
Yeah.
The Department of Tenement Implosions, one of my favorite made-up
Yes.
government
Yes.
heroes ever.
The council have just done it publicly.
For no reason.
For no
Ain't given
reason.
No
Yeah.
reason. Just because they could.
And the fact that GX35 was used on the explosion.
Ellie, you were going to say something?
Nothing to do with anything, but I would like to make a note that I'm extremely excited that I now have water and fire capabilities.
Well, for the moment.
For the moment, because you're still
Okay.
in the simulation.
That's just
The
coding.
simulation.
Yes.
I was about to say the coding. Your coding is retaining the knowledge of how to utilize either. So
You don't
I-
have a physical elemental
yeah,
yet.
yet.
The
Yeah.
T was an awesome throw-in addition.
that
to this.
was,
Yeah.
and it came kind of out of nowhere, but it came this theme throughout the therapy sessions,
Yeah.
which was sort of really a good. I don't know.
I
Making
didn't
it.
know how it would go between you and Sarani. I knew I wanted to have you two working together, interacting together
Right.
somehow here, because my assumption is that Sarani, less far gone, probably was helping you, like had been mostly healed already, was already more experienced in this form.
So, part of me, this was thinking. So that actually Sorani's program that's there helping.
Or is it just a construct?
Or is it a
That's what I thought it was, and I thought maybe Sorani's not even.
Yeah.
That maybe Sorani is in worse shape for some reason.
I honestly thought it was Sarani.
And
Okay.
that's why I don't. When you were calling it air gapped, it's technically not air gapped Because if Serrani and Archie are talking within this simulation, they're networked.
Those two are networked, yes.
But not with the rest
Not
of
with the rest
outside
of,
world.
Yeah.
So basically, they're in a controlled room
Yeah.
with wires going from one head to another.
Okay.
And whenever they're going out of the simulation, that's when Serrani is getting further updates. They are able to pass on single individual messages to her, which is why she's responding. At the middle of the episode, the middle of the last session, they nearly pulled Serrani out because they thought that Archie was getting a little too violent. So they were going to pull Serrani, and Serrani said no.
Well, I'd like to make a note. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I calmed Archie down, and that was based off of you guys actually put into words. I didn't really realize that it was a therapy session, and then it just kind of felt that way as we kept talking, and I was like, oh, this is calming. We have some tea. We're having the discussion of spilling the tea.
Yeah.
Like, tea all around, folks. And it was just, I felt like, and with the rebooting, I'm trying to go back to who Archie is, and he's more calm, reserved. He's not this angry fellow. He's a fly by the seats, pants of his gat. Whatever the hell that is.
Word English, word sometimes maybe.
Yeah.
That was
I tried to make that flow into that session.
No, and I love that. Honestly, that was kind of the idea that I was working with. Is like, let's do therapy sessions as like a symbolic stand-in for computer programming. Because computer programming is boring.
Yeah.
When you're actually talking about it.
I like the idea of more details come along as Archie's programming becomes more complete. That was a cool thing.
That was an embellishment. I was originally just going to keep it all in this black globe, and it was like, oh no, I can add like
it works because I said this in between episodes because we had two scenes of it, and it just feels like the scenery was just transforming without. It's like, oh, you're not in a new place. All of a sudden, this scenery is just different. And so I said it felt very Neo and Morpheus in the Matrix.
Yeah.
Talking about you can choose the red pill, you can choose the blue pill. Which one do you want?
Yeah. The other star of the evening was not Troller. It was Jerr.
Mm-hmm.
Jerr and Archie, and to an extent, no, not Sam. Sam didn't do anything.
Sam did Jack.
Sam didn't do Jack. Sam fired a shot at Julian.
Well, that's funny.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that because let's put a pin in that because I definitely want to have a conversation about that in our discussion that we had maybe in the future. So, but let's talk about Jerr because Jerr was awesome too.
Yeah.
I was not expecting for my elemental to guide me in healing the root.
That was awesome. Yeah.
That was the only way I could think of actually healing the root virus.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah,
and
it makes sense.
We sort of said this outside. I don't even know if I said it to Jordan. We said in order to heal the root virus with the elemental and also this computer thing that's going on, it's going to have to be something outside of the wheelhouse of our character's knowledge. Mm-hmm. Because as our characters, I don't think we have a clue of what to do for this. No. So I really like that as one set up from last session as the elemental starts to be a whole lot more forthcoming with Jerr.
Yes.
That now Jer's trying to do something, and the elemental is finally like, all right, fine, I'm going to help you for real now.
Yeah.
I've just been kind of helping you along the way for the past 200 years. And just kind of like, oh yeah, that's the easy stuff. But now, okay, fine, let's get to the hard stuff.
Well, how much of it also because the elementals got a stake in this? Because if this virus is an elemental virus, it could be a big deal for...
Well, it also brings to mind, look at where we are. We're in a hospital run by the androids, which androids are powered by the elementals. Mm-hmm. Who's to say, he is in a human body as a subjugator, but that does not necessarily mean that that elemental is a subjugator. Elemental.
We've been hinting at that, and I think from some side conversations that have gone along, there's going to be more of that aspect thrown into the story that, oh yeah, they're labeled subjugators, but not all of them are actually subjugators, kind of thing.
Well, there's no such thing whenever you have multiple sides to any discussion or conflict, there's no such thing as an us versus them binary. There is no such thing. There's always going to be a spectrum of people.
Except in football.
Well, but football's a little different, though.
I just had to throw that.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes.
Which is an absolute statement.
Yes.
Right.
I saw a meme the other day that said that is like, and it goes, but only this is absolute. He's like, did I stutter? With glowing red eyes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And who knows that, I mean, I would assume that Jerr's elemental, being around for so long, knows about that rift in elemental society, but was willing to just do nothing about it until now. Oh, now all these humans that we're interacting with, they also know about that. Yeah, and let's make sure that I'm not lumped in with something that I don't want to be lumped in with, kind of thing. Maybe.
But also one thing I do want to point out, if the Healing Hands sees themselves as a third option, a middle path, so to speak, then the fact that Katari and Sarani were working together is something to be
yes, and we've
explored.
also said that's possible because we've also thrown out there that it was actually Redneck's Near that formed the alliance with the Animal Preserve,
Yeah.
and that's why there were so many androids going to Consiglio as spies.
Yeah.
So yes, there is some cooperation between
And there might have even been
some
schism.
androids label subjugators and coexisters.
Yeah.
So one thing that, and I didn't get to the other aspect of what I wanted to try and do. One of my goals for Julian this episode was to showcase how he is actually trying to combine powers and see what kinds of effects they have. We saw over the course of the last several other episodes how he's trying to expand his powers himself, but now how he can combine powers. And the first obvious choice was to use Chime.
Yeah.
Since he had been working with Chime and that whole scene about we're going to train how to use our innate powers. I kind of like that concept of using Chime's words and echoing Chime's words as another method of persuasion to see if the fact that Chime is saying them with his innate power and they're being telepathically copied and echoed to the elemental, if that has a greater effect or a different effect.
And the fact that it's echoed with your persuasion abilities towards elementals.
Oh, unintentional. I just thought of it. Do you realize that at some point wanted to do this? That Julian was going to stray from word for word from Chime and put his own emphasis
Yeah, I definitely
on that.
saw that.
Do you realize that right after I did that is when Chime got hostile? What if that's a feedback?
Feedback.
That would be awesome.
Oh, that would be weird.
It's like feedback. So if Julian had done that word for word, Chime would have stayed absolutely calm. But because Julian put his own
Emphasis or
emotion
changes in
and aggression on it, that was a feedback loop and automatically had the effect on Chime that way.
I like that theory.
What if that could lead to what we were talking about before with using your powers through me?
Yeah. And I didn't think about it till just now when we were talking about it. And another thing I wanted to do, I wanted to see, because, and this is looking back to the very first scene, naturally, since it had already been done with Sam and Shade, Julian was going to want to go back to Shade and see, what else can he do? Let's see if that can combine with what Julian's powers were. But then that first scene happened, and it was going to be like,
Nope.
no, that's not going to happen this episode. And the other part of it was in the back of my mind, that's the obvious choice. But then let's see if with a different type of elemental, what if I tried to combine and do something with Jerr? And how would that work?
Yeah.
So,
Which might now be easier since Jerr's elemental seems to at least be on the one-word communication train.
yes.
Because if you want, Sam has a really cool ability where I can make a dark area like a portal, and you can see if your powers work inside the portal.
Julian has seen the portal. He's not falling for that one.
All right, Sam, let's go ahead and talk about you and your boneheaded move.
Out of game.
Yeah.
Know exactly. Well, have a theory exactly why.
Yeah.
And hindsight, as Julian is running away, Julian's probably like, "Is that the only reason he did this?" Because of the note that was passed.
Yes.
That if Sam wants to make it look like he's at least tried to dispose of Julian.
Yes, Shade, and again, I don't think Shade really wants Julian dead. I think Shade doesn't know what Shade wants. Sam has built this working relationship with Shade over the past.
Do you mean codependency?
Yes. Over the past 17 years. I mean, Shade and Sam bonded really when Sam was super young, and so there is a codependency there, and so Sam is aware of how to placate Shade. Some of the times, so Shade will get a win and be like, "Yeah, Julian needs to die," and so Sam will, "All right, Julian needs to die," and like kind of act like I'm trying to kill him, every now and then try to trick Julian. It's more like Shade just wants to make life hell for Julian for a little bit. So Sam will play along. And if Shade gets more insistent, then there'll be something else that happens. But
Yeah, but from Julian's perspective, as he's realizing that might be the case, Julian's thinking, really, right now is when you want to do this? Right, we're in the middle of this. Right now is when you want to try and act like...
because Sam saw an opportunity. It would be easily explained to the people that were around. I could have sworn there was somebody out there. So that was...
But at least you did try to help take care of the sick and the Archi bots.
Mostly for the joy of juggling bodies.
Yeah. That was a fun scene.
You're welcome.
And then you're like, I'm just not going to do anything else for the rest of the night because Lord knows you're not going into that.
I'm not going into that hospital. Not until somebody, I don't even know what it's going to take because...
See, that was another thought I had at that moment when Chime just kind of went nuts, was to say, let me try and connect to Shade. It's going down in here. We need some help. But then I thought, it's like, there's probably no way this Shade is going to come in.
If Sam and Shade were coming into that building,
people were going to die.
Yeah, I mean, it's like...
It's a matter of somebody, the first person they see, bam, gone.
It's a one-person Lego team. So.
Oh, yeah, that's true. No gun.
It would just be...
void.
Yep.
And that scene also contemplating...
You haven't seen the Void. No, not the council member of the Void.
Oh, yeah, we'll
Sam
get back
the
to that
Void.
eventually, probably.
It's a fun scene.
In that scene with Chime, that was another thought that crossed Julian's mind is should I just shoot this technician? He was almost going to just raise his rifle and like start making demands, and if it didn't happen, it just opened fire. It's like,
Yeah, I don't know where Chime's going with.
We need to explore this feedback theory, because that's could be interesting.
Idea. But let's go ahead and talk about our points. How many have I been giving you?
20.
5.
25? Okay.
No. No.
35, 45, 55.
I think 10.
It has been,
It's
it's been
10 to 20.
55, 50, 55, 60, 60.
It's been 10 except for on
70,
special
75,
occasions.
75, 85, 85, 90.
The new year.
Yeah.
You know what?
$450 for an upside down cake.
450 character points for Julian. Okay.
You know,
Okay.
like a New Year celebration.
I'll
I
take
can
it.
see getting a little extra.
What did we get?
5. No, 10.
10.
10 has been the standard for this game.
10. Yes, 10 has been standard. Last time I believe we got 12 because
What was it for Terra Proximus? I gave 2 character points.
at first it was like 3,
3 character points.
and then we started doing absolutely horrible.
Did we get any Christmas presents this year?
You may all each have 1 as a Christmas present.
1 fate point.
Character point. Character point.
Don't forget you spent 3 today.
So let's go ahead and do votes.
Character advancement.
Character.
Jerr.
Yes.
Hands down.
I don't think you're going to get much.
No debate.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Best role playing. Sam all the way. No. It was just so funny because you were talking about how you feel like you play your characters a little too conservative. Well, you spent the entire evening playing conservatively.
Well, that was the situation.
That's the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that was playing conservative. That was playing what
To
the
the-
character
yeah.
would actually do.
Yeah.
So,
Best role playing Archie, with all the the therapy sessions and the tea scenes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Chime because
I can see it.
he was very willing to help. Jerr was very willing to help Julian. He was willing to help anybody, but then that choice, as soon as it was Choler, that's when the role playing, I think, kicked it up to the next
That was good.
the next notch.
No.
And
We all knew that was coming soon.
well, yeah,
yeah,
we did.
right,
yeah.
We did.
Which
And
is
didn't
kind of
know.
why we didn't tell him about it.
We didn't,
Right.
but we didn't tell him about it, but at that, the reason Julian just came out and said it, look what had just happened. Had tried to go and figure out what's going on with Bear, had got brushed off there. Tried to help with Katari, was getting brushed off there. Went to go to deal with this canister and was starting to be brushed off, and he was like, no. So he was just like, all right, fine. No, I'm letting everything out of the bag right now.
It wasn't even like the elders were trying to brush you off. They were just trying to deal with an emergency situation
Yeah.
Yeah.
because trauma because of eagles. And
So my vote is for Chime.
I'll
Best
second that.
roleplay.
I'll second that.
Although the therapy sessions definitely
Yeah.
were a highlight of this session. Yeah. I just
They were just so intriguing.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought I just
and
felt like I
you
was
couldn't
gonna
see
dry.
it. You couldn't see it at the very last one when Jordan really started to set up the atmosphere of the therapy session. You got the two love seats. You got a coffee table with it, and he started naming items. Ellie is over there actually sitting like she's
Relaxing.
legs crossed, adjusting things on the coffee table. Sitting
I'm
there.
setting the scene, man. I'm setting the scene.
Yeah, it's like that's why I was laughing, and I couldn't
Yeah.
see me trying to hold back my laughter. It was because
Yeah, I saw
was-
your confusion as I stood up to like push back my
and I
chair.
was like, what are you doing? And then you sat back down. I'm like, oh. Here we go. Okay. So yeah, those are very good, but I think that last scene put Chime over the top for me for
Yeah.
my vote.
I agree. 2 votes for Chime.
So we got a tie. That means somebody didn't vote.
I haven't voted.
Johnny hasn't voted. Usually, Johnny, editing, you realize you're usually the last one to vote
Yeah, I
on
know.
everything.
I know.
he's got to ruminate.
I do. See, I want to say Jerr, but it wasn't really role playing. It was character advancement.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of groups don't differentiate between those
Yeah.
two things.
Yes.
I think it'd be
Right.
difficult to differentiate.
And
Sometimes it
can
really
be.
is.
Well, sometimes they play into each other
Yeah.
at the same time. But
Sometimes they go against each other
Yeah.
at the same time.
But tonight was definitely you were having character advancement because of actions you were
Yes.
taking.
Yeah. I don't know. I hate voting for myself, so I'm voting for Archie.
All right.
It's valid.
Okay.
Let's talk about
I think,
food.
honestly, there's only two in the running for me.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
so
Eclair. No. Yeah. Eclair. Oh no, the stroganoff.
I can't get a point.
Yeah, he doesn't get points. He can't be voted for.
BS.
Actually, no, I have had food given to me before. I've also had best role playing given to me.
Yes.
before.
And he has to give away the point.
or we did it also at the end of Angel's Guard where there was no points given.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, then the Eclair casserole. Those are
So the options were the Eclair dessert,
Eclair.
Yeah.
the
Mexican
Mexican lasagna,
Chicken enchiladas
Yep.
and the cookie brittle.
Cookie brittle.
And then I brought beef stroganoff because I was excited to play with my new Dutch oven. So
So did you guys know that you were both bringing
No.
Mexican?
No.
Tex-Mex.
That's pretty awesome. That it was
Yeah,
just-
Tex-Mex. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of just
It gets streaky.
Felt it?
Yeah, it gets streaky sometimes where we bring everybody brings desserts or everybody brings like chips or everybody brings main dishes or something like
it
that.
was just neat that it was both main dishes and they went together.
Yeah.
yeah.
Can I vote for two simultaneously? It was
like,
Yeah, I know, that's how I
done
feel
that
too.
once before with 2 desserts.
Yeah.
It was the cobbler and the cheesecake. Because when you put them together.
Caloric bliss.
Yes.
Yeah, but I'm gonna have to agree with Ellie. It was probably the Eclair dessert.
That'd be my vote too.
Looks like you got it, Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff.
Sweet.
On a roll.
Told you it was a good choice.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I think that closes off our evening. Guys, thanks very much for a fantastic role-playing session.
It's a little shorter because we.
Yeah, a little shorter because
Also,
we had some other administrative work to take care of tonight.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed our 300th episode. Again, just to close off, I cannot believe that we've been here in some shape or fashion for 300 episodes. And the stories that we've told, both in campaigns and one-shots, have been...
Amazing. And ridiculous.
Yeah, amazingly ridiculous.
Just plain
amazing.
ridiculous.
The collaboration, though, is really something that vitalizes me and keeps me going a lot of times.
Yes.
And even if I have no clue what I'm doing when I come in here. And in some ways, being a player is a lot easier than being a GM. Because even if I'm not saying a lot, I still have to be on.
Yes.
Yes,
you do.
But I love it, and I love GMing for all of you guys because you are hands down one of the best role-playing groups I've worked with.
I agree.
The group that we have, the people that we have, the tone that we have is just pitch perfect for me as a person, and pitch perfect for the stories that I like to tell. And you guys are really the glue that holds everything
And I
together
think
here.
our particular mix works well for the type of game we have.
Yeah.
You know, we feed off each other.
Very much so.
You guys are pretty much the most unlikely friends I thought I would ever have. That's for sure. So thanks for inviting me, Jeremy. So this is awesome. Thank you.
We're expanding your horizons.
Yes.
You didn't even know today that you were actually walking into a therapy session. So, yeah, right? There you go. But yeah, honestly, that's role-playing when it's done properly is almost as cathartic as that. So, at least in my opinion. All right, until next time, further up and further in. Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to Bone Throwers Theater. Our cast is Aaron, Ellie, Jeff, Jeremy, Johnny, and Jordan. We are releasing this podcast under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 3.0 Unported license. That means you can share the podcast, but please do not modify it or try to gain financially from it. If you would like to visit our website, you can do so at bonethrowerstheater.com. If you would like to send us an email, you can do so at bonethrowerstheater@gmail.com. Our Twitter handle is bonethrowerstheater. You can also look us up on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And until next time, may the bones fall ever in your favor. This has been a Nerd Circle podcast production.